Hey guys, Moose here. I am back with some more Minecraft, and I am joined by Karen.
Hello.
And no Eric today. We're just kind of relaxing. It's been a long couple weeks for everyone involved, I think. So, how are you doing?
I'm alright. Just really tired.
I think we're all in the same boat there. So, what are you going to be working on that I'm not going to see in this episode because I'm exploring to some direction?
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to finish up the greenhouse for
That's
Sadie.
that's the thing behind the tree here. Um, cool. So I'm just going to be running off and exploring pretty much. I probably should have taken a boat, but whatever. We'll figure it out. I will also probably die, but that's fine. So we were having a conversation earlier today, actually, just kind of relaxing, chatting about a variety of things, and, generally we talk about games because that's a common interest with a lot of us, and it's not just me and Karen, of course. We have a number of friends who are, of course, also very much interested in games. In fact, that's how we met them for the most part. And we got on the topic of like what we considered to be not a perfect game because they don't exist. I know we talked about our ideal game previously, but we never really talked about of what's out there and of what we've played, what's our favorite. So we're gonna discuss that. I know we were gonna talk about procedurally generated horror games, but no Eric today, so we're gonna table that one for a later episode. For now, we're going to discuss our favorite games, and I think we're gonna start with me. Karen
Mhm.
isn't quite sure about what her favorite is, which is understandable. There's a lot of good games out there, and there's a lot of them that have a special place in our minds for a variety of different reasons. And I'm not totally sure either, but I can talk through it, and that will at least get us somewhere. So it's difficult for me to say, and I think some of this, it's going to be easy to write off as nostalgia goggles, but just the same, I feel relatively confident in my answer. It's a pretty generic one, but I think going straight to the tippy top, probably the best that I can remember is got to be Chrono Trigger. And as boring and vanilla as that answer may be, that's honestly, in my mind, one of the most flawless games I've ever played. And that doesn't mean it doesn't have flaws, that just means it's as close to being flawless as I can remember.
I'm honestly surprised because
Why is
I'd
that?
assumed you would cite some Western RPG or something.
Oh, see, just because you're exclusively interested in JRPGs doesn't mean I'm exclusively interested in Western RPGs. Or even necessarily RPGs.
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna say Western games.
Oh,
Sorry,
fair
in
enough.
general.
Yeah, um, yeah, it's understandable. Nothing really. I respect The Binding of Isaac, but I don't really play it. It doesn't work for me because I'm not good enough at it to enjoy it, really, in my opinion, or I don't think I would be good enough at it to enjoy it, so that's out. And even though I think it's one of the best designed games out there, then you've got games like Natural Selection that I enjoyed a great deal, but probably not the best ever, in my opinion. What else is there? Dwarf
Well,
Fortress is definitely up there.
yeah, I was gonna add Dwarf Fortress or Skyrim because those
Ah,
two
yeah.
games you used to talk about extensively.
Skyrim's really good, but it's not tight, I guess. Like it I feel like when I play, and you can't, I feel like it's, no matter how you cut it, this is an apples to oranges discussion because
Hmm.
you are inevitably comparing games that are not comparable at all. You
Hmm.
can't compare, like you can't reasonably say, well, Skyrim's a better game than Chrono Trigger because it looks better. Of
Yeah.
course it looks better.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
2 decades newer. So that's out. And once you start going down that road, then you have to say, well, what about gameplay advances and input advances and technological advances that allow gameplay advance? All blah, 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 all this stuff. Like, you can never have the kind of gameplay that Skyrim has in that era. It just can't exist. So you got to go a little bit more apples to apples. And to me, that means saying that for what it was trying to accomplish, comparing, like, if I say, okay, what was Skyrim trying to be, and I say, okay, well, what was Chrono Trigger trying to be, I think Chrono Trigger did a better job of being what it was than Skyrim did. And
Okay.
in within the context of this discussion, I think that makes Skyrim the inferior game, even though it may be superior in a more short-term sense, I guess, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
That's the only way I can figure out to really compare the two in any meaningful fashion. So that's why I rate Chrono Trigger higher than Skyrim, probably. Dwarf Fortress, I don't know. Dwarf Fortress is a game. It is definitely a game. But as much as I'm loath to do so, I have to take points off for accessibility. Because it doesn't really care about accessibility, which is understandable. I get why it doesn't, and I agree with the reasoning, but at the same time, I have to say, well, shit, I should really go back for a boat. Or I could just make a boat. Oh, fuck, but okay. I gotta figure this out. Yeah, I'll just swim back and make a boat. Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, I have to take points out for accessibility because it if it's not accessible, it's more of an art project than a game to some degree. If that does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So Dwarf Fortress is the one that I probably respect the most because I love what it does and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and I think it's a work of art. But as far as a all-in-one package video game, I think Chrono Trigger succeeds the most, I guess, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
So there's a lot of other games that are in that conversation, though. Skyrim is definitely one, even though I think it for sure cannot win. Dwarf Fortress, of course, as I mentioned. Natural Selection, as I mentioned. I'm not sure if there's anything recently, like if I restricted it to the last several years, I don't know what I would say, to be honest. There's not, Minecraft is a good one, but I don't know how good it is, though. I feel like Minecraft could be much better than it is. And maybe that's naive or mistaken, I don't know, but I don't feel like Minecraft is actually that good of a game. Even though, of course, it's a good game, don't get me wrong. I just don't, I think it's a little bit overblown as far
Well,
as actual quality goes.
sorry.
No, it's cool.
Well, what don't you, or why do you think, it needs to be changed to make it a good game? Or what are the
I
things that you feel like it's missing?
I just want more content. Like, I would like some more different types of metal, more furniture. Basically, I would like Minecraft with a little bit more detail. And not really on terrain blocks, but on non-terrain blocks. Like, there's a lot of things that still very much adhere to the block formula, if you want to call it that,
Mm.
that I would prefer if they somewhat didn't, and you can make better looking houses and things. So,
So,
sorry.
sorry.
No, go for it. Are you going to
So
say
kind
so
of like,
DQB?
yeah, I was gonna say, so something like with DQB where the sofa looks like an actual sofa.
Can't say until it comes out. And it can't clash with the style, but I don't think it does in that game. I just haven't seen enough of it to really say, but I'm hopeful that it will, and that's why I'm excited to do playthroughs of it.
Oh, okay.
So
Because I was just curious if that's what you meant by it. So,
yeah, and that's part of why I'm excited for DQB. So that could definitely make it onto this list. I'm a little skeptical, but it's in the running to be sure. But it's not yet there. I don't know how it's going to be, so we'll have to see what happens, I guess. Sorry, I won't be able to sleep out here, but that is unfortunately part of life. Dragging a
I'm
bed. Huh?
I'm transferring one of the beds like in Sadie's uh tower because zombies start spawning down here.
No, okay. But yeah, I won't be able to sleep regardless, so sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um, what other games do I really love? We were talking about a bunch of them earlier. I would appreciate your help jogging my memory because I'm having some trouble remembering them all.
Skyrim, right? Dwarf Fortress,
Subnautica.
Witcher,
Yeah,
Subnautica,
Witcher I respect from a distance, but it can't put the time into playing. Subnautica is a really good one that's not out yet.
Eve.
Yeah, but only from more from a distance than The Witcher.
Okay.
Eve, I definitely can't put the time into, and there's decisions within that game that piss me off. But the overall principle of it and the way it functions, like a really, really player-driven economy, I enjoy that. I just don't like that you really have to live your life inside the game to be able to. I mean, the amount of time it's basically leveling up isn't through doing anything. It's just time based for the most part.
RimWorld.
RimWorld is really just Dwarf Fortress Lite, so if I give RimWorld any credit, it really needs to go to Dwarf Fortress, which isn't to disrespect RimWorld, but it's not really doing anything that I haven't already seen in Dwarf Fortress. It's just doing it in such a way that's accessible enough for me to enjoy it more readily. So yes, it is superb and I love it, but it's also somewhat derivative, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not grabbing me as like, oh, this is amazing. I can't believe no one ever thought of this before, because I know who thought of this before I've played it. So, yeah. It is really good though. Maybe down the line. I mean, when it hits release, we'll talk again about that. It's still an alpha, so we'll see what happens. But as things
I didn't
stand,
know that.
yeah, you
I
do. My
thought.
whole series is titled Alpha 15.
Well, I guess yeah, but I thought
You
it's
never thought of it that way.
yeah. Sorry, because
Okay.
like compared to No Man's Sky, I guess, where it's
Yeah, that one's definitely not in the running.
no, like that game is supposed to be like finished, right? But like you hear more people
Yeah,
praising RimWorld,
it doesn't feel
right?
like an alpha, does it?
Yeah.
Which is why it's so good, and that makes my job easier, because for me it's very hard. I kind of need to play games that are in alpha, because that's the only way you can get in there and get your name in on games. Like, I think if you search for Minecraft, I'm probably not going to be the one you find. If I just guessing, the new guy who doesn't have much presence just yet, yeah, probably not going to be who you find initially. But on alpha games that are in alpha, I can get in there a little bit more easily, which is
Yeah.
nice. But the problem is most of those are broken as shit. Like Stonehearth, it's a good game, but it's got some serious issues that need fixing. And I haven't had lag issues in a while, so there was some fix that happened that resolved a lot of that. But just the same, it's a little frustrating to deal with that when you're doing a let's play, right? It'd be fine if I was just, screwing around on my own, because then I could walk away and come back when it's fixed. But if you're doing a series, I really don't have a choice. The videos have to be recorded at a certain time. There's a dog with me. I do not know why.
Trying to protect you.
Yeah, I don't know what from, though, because I only just got hit for the first time. But, yeah, it can be really frustrating, so I really appreciate that RimWorld is a very stable, very well-made game that just works. Everything works the way it's meant to. So that's fantastic, and I enjoyed a great deal for that, but it's also still a little bit of a work in progress, which is fine, so there's a few things that I'd like to see added to it that aren't there yet. There's mods that do it, but I don't want to do too much with that just yet. I probably will for some series once it's sort of a little bit more mature, I guess. But right now I'm mostly just kind of playing the base game, because I'm far from mastering that, so.
Well, going back to Chrono Trigger, like you didn't really talk about what you like about it, like except for the fact that
There it is.
you got shot.
It's okay.
Like,
That was expected.
yeah,
Go to
sorry.
bed here. I'm in
Except
Sadie's
the
house.
fact. Oh,
There we are. Alright. Off we go. Let's make it a challenge. I won't take anything with me. Except a boat, because I'm not stupid this time. But yeah, continue. So what you're asking, basically what I really like about Chrono Trigger, what makes it my top game?
yeah, because you only mentioned how, if you play that game, you don't think about what you could change about it to make it good, because it's perfect for you already.
Yeah, it already
So,
does everything I want it to do. So basically that's it. Like, my measure, because I'm trying to do apples to apples, is that when I play that game, I don't feel like there's anything, hey, I wish this was different, hey, this should be different, this is flawed, blah, blah, blah. None of those thoughts really occur to me. Okay, at least the dog is back. I'm never thinking about that. I'm just stuck enjoying the game. which is where you should be. You should never be taken out of it to think about, well, I wish this was different, because then you'd know the game has done something incorrect. And maybe not. Maybe you're wrong as the player, and it should be the way it is, and that happens sometimes. And it, especially as a LPer, you know, if you're just playing it for the first time, you say, hey, this is stupid, I don't like how this works, but then you play later and you realize, okay, well, now I get it. That makes sense, I just didn't have the full picture yet. It happens sometimes. But I never got any of that with Chrono Trigger. It was just the whole way through with some, like, okay, well, I don't really like this part of the game, just for stylistic reasons or whatever. I'd have situations like that, especially the prehistoric era. But other than that, like, the music was pretty much perfect. I think everyone can agree to that. It's probably one of the most remixed games ever.
Mm-hmm.
The gameplay was great. Just, you know, pretty much exactly what an RPG of that era should be. Everything worked. Like, I never had any issues with it. Everything made sense. Everything was functional. It worked the way it was supposed to. It played the way it was supposed to. Everything felt right. The story was good. It's just it was correct. Everything was exactly the way it should be for that game. I don't think I'm going the right area, but that's okay. So does that make sense? It was the right thing.
Yeah.
It was the correct game. They made it correctly. Whereas other games, let's see, what can I criticize? I mean, I've given plenty of criticisms, like Stonehearth. I wish there was a little bit more content. It seems like at a certain point you've just kind of won, and then you're just playing again. I feel like that's an issue that Banished had as well, where you get to a point where it's effectively over. I mean, you've really done pretty much all you can do. There isn't really too much else you can do other than kill the incoming waves of enemies in Stonehearth, as well as accumulate wealth and else looks interesting, and new people. Oh shit, I'm going over. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, well. Alright, I found something interesting now that I have no picks. And there goes my boat. Okay, I'm fine. But, yeah, you kind of hit a point where it's just sort of over. And you could still play, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same, I guess. You're kind of, you've done everything. You've built all the buildings, you're growing all the crops, you're effectively done. And at that point, I just sort of like, okay, well now what? Like, there's nothing new for me to really attempt. So it kind of gets a little annoying, because not annoying maybe, but I'm done too quickly. It's like it's finished too quickly. I'm ready for more, but there's nothing more there. And it's the same situation with Banished. So that kind of a thing where, you know, hey, I wish this was different. I never had that feeling with a game like Chrono Trigger. And that's kind of the major difference. So, and I'm having trouble thinking of other games that I think are really good. Witcher, like I said, I admire from a distance. I don't really have the time to invest in playing those, unfortunately. What else? I feel like I'm forgetting a ton of stuff.
Well, I don't know how you rank Souls games.
I haven't played them that much. It's a little hardcore for me. I'm not that good at games, regrettably. So a lot of them, I played Dark Souls and it kicked my ass pretty seriously. It's a good game, but I really don't feel like I feel like it's a little overrated at this point. They're solid games, but the fandom kind of overhypes it to a degree that I'm perhaps not in agreement with. So I wouldn't even rank those in this conversation. Granted, I haven't played all of them, but just the same, I don't feel like they belong in that conversation, frankly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd have to pull up my Steam library and go through all like 200 something games. Civilization 2 might be in there. I mean, it has flaws, but I've put a lot of time into that game. As a kid, I enjoyed the hell out of it. Some of the X3 games kind of do a lot of the stuff that Eve did, but single player, and in my opinion, a little bit better because it's not quite so grindy. I want to stay away from MMOs because I don't think those are really good games. They're generally just good at keeping your attention. I don't think that's the same thing as a good game. Bastion, I don't think is in the conversation either. I think it's a superb game, but I don't think it's quite... It's not enough for me. It's not really my kind of game, you know? So it doesn't quite do it for me, even though I recognize its excellence. And Transistor is kind of in the same boat.
I feel like an MMO can be fine.
Not for me.
Really?
They're, from my opinion, or in my opinion rather, they're very much designed to hold attention rather than provide superb, tight, clean, well-designed gameplay. If that makes sense. Like something more like Chrono Trigger, where it's a very clear experience, you've got a very clear story, you're moving through it in a very structured way that makes sense and gives you a good sense of flow without feeling like you're being railroaded too much. It's a much better experience than an MMO is ever going to be able to provide, as far as a one-on, you know, as far as an individual story goes. Simply because an MMO is just not structured for that. That's not what it's about. It's far too repetitive.
Because I was thinking, like, a lot of people would cite, like, you know, X and Y MMO as their favorite game because of the experience and sometimes the story.
But that's not the game, that's the people they were with, generally.
Okay.
It's the friends you make, and that has value, but I don't think you can attribute that to the game. In the same way that, like, if I make a friend with someone, I'm not going to attribute my friendship with them to the cafe I met them in or something. You know, or the party I was at where I met them. It's more, it doesn't belong to that venue, so to speak. Anyway, I mean, that's my opinion. It's just an opinion. All of this is very much subjective, so nothing I'm saying is objectively right or wrong in any way. It's just how I feel about things. But I think we're going to call it there. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Feel free to flame me in the comments, which I'm going to regret saying probably, if you disagree with my opinion on Chrono Trigger. Though hopefully you can at least admit that Chrono Trigger is a superb game, even if you don't think it's the best. For what I've played, it's the best, so have mercy. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and hopefully see you in the next one.